Hey everyone, so this is my review of American Horror Story 1984, episode 2 called Mr. Jingles, and essentially what this episode is about is that darkness descends upon the camp, and even though all the power is shut down for the night, the horrors that hide behind the camp never seem to rest. And this was such an interesting episode that did a good job of sort of building off a lot of the things that were set up in the last episode, as well as introducing some new threads that weren't necessarily all that important in my mind so far, but they were still very interesting to see. Where a lot of this episode was playing more into a lot of the 1980s sort of horror movie camp style of things, where it's just the slasher sort of going around killing everyone and sort of building off of that. Like, the only substantial building point in this episode was around the Night Stalker and him hunting down Brooke and everything around that, where you gotta get to know a bit more of his backstory and why he sort of is the way he is as far as his opinion goes. And the whole conversation between him and the head of the camp was interesting, where they had very similar sort of views but different ways to sort of operate and control those views, and that was very interesting to see how all that worked out between the two of them. And then everything with the Night Stalker and the hiker was interesting, where it was revealed that the hiker that the kids saved in the last episode turns out to actually be a ghost who was trapped out on the road where he was killed until the campers went and brought him back to the camp, and now he's trapped there. And how they first chose to show that was very weird, where it just felt like a weird editing mistake at first, where they showed the Night Stalker kill the hiker and then went back to this whole conversation between Brooke and Montana, and then show back to the Night Stalker killing the hiker again, but in a different way. And just how they chose to sort of show that was, again, it just felt more like an editing mistake than showing that, oh, the Night Stalker's killing him twice. And that just felt very kind of off to me, how they chose to show that, where it would have been much better if they chose to show it in a way of having the Night Stalker kill the hiker and then him sort of like turning around or taking a breath and like looking down and stuff, and then the hiker's up again and fine. That would have made a whole lot more sense to me than how they chose to show it, to actually show that he's killing this same guy twice. But then that whole conversation between the head of the camp and the hiker later on, where she sort of reveals to him that he is dead and that he's a ghost and stuff, was very interesting, and I'm very interested to see how that's going to play out in the future with Mr. Jingles and him when he finally approaches the hiker and see that, oh, the guy's ear's already gone and stuff. And that would be very interesting to see. Then everything with Xander in this episode was interesting, where you finally got to meet his stalker that was teased in the last episode. And everything around that was interesting, with Xander sort of trying to escape from this guy, but choosing to sort of put the weight of this guy on another one of the campers and make him deal with it, and how that turns out for Xander was interesting, where he felt guilty once his stalker was killed by Mr. Jingles, and him sort of choosing to blame himself and have a whole like meltdown while they're trying to escape was interesting. Then everything with their actual final escape and attempt to escape was interesting, with them finally doing something that is sort of joked about in horror movies, where why don't they ever like try and go to their car and escape, instead they choose to run around in the woods and stuff, where in this they actually did get in their car and attempt to escape. But then something happened that caused their car to crash, which again is very much a 80s horror movie cliche sort of thing. So then they have to go and return to the camp to collect keys to the other cars to try and escape that way. And they choose to split up into two groups, which again is a whole nother cliche. And have their two different waypoints of getting these different keys to escape. And now they're being hunted by possibly two different killers based on how the episode ended, where both groups are being approached by some sort of killer, but it's not really known which one is being approached by Mr. Jingles and which is being approached by the Night Stalker. And that I'm very interested to see what's going to happen in the next episode once that is revealed, and how the whole group's going to take meeting possibly the Night Stalker and possibly meeting him in a much more friendly way. And then just overall, this was a really, really entertaining and fun episode, and I'm really excited to see what they're going to do next with how this episode's building and really playing off of all those horror movie cliches, and it's just so much fun to watch because of that. So, yeah. Bye!